Howdy. You know, I could keep making videos about franchises because they definitely perform the best, but to be honest, I think I'm out of opinions on G%, and there really isn't anything to milk there. No one cares. And theoretically, I could make analysis videos that are just thinly veiled excuses to talk about my particular brand of political extremism.
Down with the establishment.
Nah. Ah, no, my RGB light died. Now I don't look like every other YouTuber anymore. I'm just a bum in a van. Instead, I want to talk about antiquated language. The way people used to speak. Because I think it's neat. And if you're one of the fantastic people who listen to my critically acclaimed short story, Talipo, you might have noticed I had way too much fun with a brutal mix of anachronistic slang, swearing, and purple prose. Which explains why I want to make this video. If you played Cyberpunk, you probably noticed the futuristic slang that characters use. Things like chrome and ganic should be pretty obvious in the context of this world. And then you got clep and preem, which are also pretty understandable as they're evolutions on kleptomania and premium. And then they even have some evolutions on terms we use now, like flick means to send instead of movie, as in I'll flick you the deets. Pig meaning cop stuck around because the comparison is still apt. And then you got stuff like Nova, meaning awesome, and Delta, meaning bail, and then completely new stuff like Choomba, or Choom for short.
What's up, Choom?
Which means buddy, and Gonk, meaning dummy.
Say you're a gonk little bitch.
If you go on the Cyberpunk wiki, you can see a list of all the new slang that people use, and then there's even specific vernacular for certain types of people, which is just really neat for a setting. It's an evolution on language that's specific to this vision of the future, but remains still completely understandable to us now, 50 years in the past from when Cyberpunk takes place. And that's excellent writing and world building because it perfectly mirrors how language was 50 years ago for us. While our manner of elocution has retained a general consistency throughout the years, what does considerably vary is our use of slang and idiomatic expressions, such as the terms riz and cap, both recent advents that would confound those 50 years past and will 50 years in the future. While the term awesome has become a mainstay, terms like radical and exclamations like excellent have fallen to the wayside beyond their dictionary definitions, yet they are still reasoned enough that if they are used as slang, most adults will understand the callback. However, the farther one goes back in time, the more difficult speech is to comprehend.
Girlfriend.
And I must give her snaps for her courageous fashion efforts.
Ugh, as if.
Excellent!
Yes! Unless Jason and I have a date with two totally major babes. Oh wait, we do. But here's a lovely parting gift.
Been there. My dad once gave me a gold-plated tire pressure gauge he won at the company bowling tournament. Try getting psyched over that.
A most bodacious soldier and general, Miss Bark totally rousted the English from France. And then she turned this dude, Dauphin, into a kid.
You just keep sucking on that sucker. And when I pull your chain, you bar it. Otherwise, don't you say nothing.
That ugly stain, even Ajax couldn't do nothing with a stain like that.
How dare you say something like that about my family? Why, you bean-eating bear hugger.
You keep calling me no.
In the 1930s, 20s, and 10s, now 100 years past, the way people speak begins to differ more radically from how people speak today, as it is not just the slang that differs, but general speech patterns as well, as they were shaped by a far different culture than that of today.
Say, wait a minute, will you? I want to talk to Eddie.
No, hurry up.
Why you, Ray? You mean to tell me you haven't raised that dough yet?
I thought I had a job this afternoon caddying, but I didn't get out.
Well, listen, I got an extra half. You can have that.
Have a heart. I'm broke. Well, now look, fellas. Come on now, out with it.
Hey, look.
You're talking to Simon Legree, boy. Come on, out.
Hey, you eggs, what's the idea? Don't let him get rough with you, Tommy. Why don't you take a poke at somebody?
Now, wait a minute, Eddie. Don't start a fight here.
He hasn't any ticket. Okay, gang.
We'll take this side, and Mac, you and your bunch take the other.
Okay, gang, let's go.
Say, mister, could you give a fella a nickel or a dime to get a cup of coffee or a loaf of bread? I ain't had nothing to eat since...
Say, I'm getting sick of this panhandling. I'll show you where you can get something to eat. Hey, Mike! Mike!
Well, for a man that don't go heeled, you run your mouth kind of reckless, don't you?
No need to go heeled to get the bulge on a tub like you. Go ahead, skin it. Skin that smoke wagon and see what happens.
Listen, mister, I'm getting awful tired of your...
I'm getting tired of your gas. Now jerk that pistol and go to work.
I may have fucked my life up flattered and hammered shit, but I stand here before you today beholden to no human cocksucker and working a paying fucking gold claim.
The turn of the century was the transitory period into the modern age as we know it, and so the language contains a mixture of the old and the new. In the 1800s, the social gap between the wealthy and the impoverished was far greater than now, and thusly people from separate classes spoke with greater difference.
It's very well documented that the obscenity of the West was striking, but the obscenity of mining camps was unbelievable. If you read the newspapers of the time, the most unbearable purple prose.
Those with means are afforded a better education, and to flaunt their status, they would speak with rigorously prescribed grammar and use large poetic words that came from the poems and novels they were taught from.
So there was the cohabitation of the primitively obscene with this kind of ornate presentation, and what I found was that in the documentation that people who were exposed to that environment, who survived, their language was still ornate, but it became very vital, and it was the only social form until there was government.
Essentially, this verbose and grammatically strict speech was a form of flexing. Take this scene from Red Dead Redemption 2, where Agent Milton and Dutch Vanderlyn converse, and then compare it to a scene of Dutch and Arthur.
This place ain't no such thing as civilized. It's man, so in love with greed, he has forgotten himself and found only appetites.
And as a consequence, that lets you take what you please, kill whom you please, and hang the rest of us? Who made you the messiah to these lost souls you've led so horribly astray?
I'm nothing but a seeker, Mr. Milton.
You ain't much of anything more than a killer, Mr. Vanderlyn.
A few days is all we need.
There's a spot out by Shady Bell. Lenny and I got into that dispute with the previous occupiers. Place is well hidden.
You and Arthur, ride out to make sure no one else has moved in. Lenny, go follow those fools out of here. Make sure that they leave. And John, we'll get Jack back, and we'll get going. Rest of you, get packing!
You'll notice how when Dutch and Milton speak, they're far more flowery, as the two men are trying to showcase their class. Milton is trying to seem sophisticated and cultured, a representative of civilization, law, and order, and Dutch is his rival, his speech saying, "I am equally sophisticated. My lifestyle does not make me lesser than you." But when he speaks to Arthur or other members of his gang, his language is more plain, as he does not need to perform, and he is putting himself on the same level as those who follow him, many of whom are uneducated and even illiterate. But when you listen to the plain-spoken dialogue, you will still note there is a subtle difference in what words are used in place of others, and just the pattern of speech. The linguistic fashion of the period, if you will. It's these things that I think make old language fascinating. It adds flavor, texture, a different consistency that just makes it special. The simple fact of it being unusual to us makes it more interesting to listen to and read, but to write as well. It offers up new words, new ways of articulating things. It's just a lot of fun to play with. And that's really all I have to say. So, yeah, like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you like my other stuff as well, and I hope to see you next time. Bye. And what's that one James May quote?
You look like a gay cowboy